In today's show, the Blazers' great tanking experiment leads to an entertaining victory. Whoops! But it was still a lot of fun as the Blazers beat the T-Wolves. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen. It's free on all platforms, coming at you every single weekday, Monday through Friday. So start your weekdays with it. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we'll talk about the Blazers getting walloped and continuing the tanking journey on Friday, and then whoops, winning a pretty fun and entertaining game on Sunday in Minneapolis. Some new faces have joined the mix with Shaq Harrison and Skyler Mays and Nate Williams. We will talk about those folks, plus Shaedon Sharpe taking over in the final 4 minutes of a close game. Pretty darn entertaining. And then to close the show, the Blazers and the rest of the league got a new collective bargaining agreement as the players union and the owners have agreed to a new labor deal. So there will be no work stoppage this summer, at least the next 6 seasons and potentially 7. A new labor deal that, as reported, I don't love all of it, but at least we won't have a lockout. So let's talk about all of it in today's show. But first, let's do what we do. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers lose to the Kings on Friday night. Second game against the Kings. And it went like the first one for the most part. Blazers lose 138-114. They didn't score 115 points, so they did not have a chance to win. Down 9 after 1, down 12 at halftime. You know, they were kind of like vaguely in it because they're only down 12, but they get up 71 points. Like, it's just, they don't have the firepower to score 140. The Kings do, so they did. Up 15 after 3, Sacramento was. Blazers hung around, though. Like I said, they didn't go away. They were only down 7. They cut to 7 with 7:40 left in the game. And then over the next 5 minutes, the Kings ripped off a 22-2 run, and that was your ball game. They win 138-114. Shaedon Sharpe, 27 points in that game on 10 of 20 shooting to go with 5 assists. He did have 6 turnovers. He was good with the bad. I thought he was mostly good, but like, he's still figuring it out. Jabari Walker had 14 off the bench. Skyler Mays in his debut with the Blazers had 14 at getting the start. Trendon Watford 8, Matisse Thybulle 8. Shaq Harrison in his debut for the Blazers, he had 5. Nazir Little played just 12 minutes in this game, scored 7 points, and then left with an ankle injury, did not return, and did not play on Sunday. On the other side, De'Aaron Fox had 20, Domantas Sabonis had 20, Keegan Murray had 20, Malik Monk had 20 off the bench. The Kings spread it around. They shot 61.5% from the floor for the game, got whatever they wanted, made 19 threes, scored 138 points. They're a really good offensive team. The Blazers had no way to stop them, and so they didn't. On to Sunday. Wins or losses. They lose. Losses are wins. I screwed it up. Losses are wins. So the Blazers lose on Friday. They wake up Saturday morning for the first time all season long with sole possession of the 5th best lottery odds. They've got the fifth worst record in the league. They've finally caught and passed Orlando, so they just got to keep on losing. Should be no problem. You're not going to have Nazir Little in this next game. You know, you're already incredibly shorthanded. You're signing 10-day guys. The Blazers also, prior to the Friday game, had announced that they'd waived Ryan Arcidiacono and signed a gentleman named Jonathan Williams III to a multi-year contract. More about him in the second segment. It's like newcomers, super shorthanded. Who knows what it's going to look like? They go out there, same group, Thybulle, Watford, Sharpe, Mays, and Eubanks, but they're going to have to play John Butler a bunch of minutes. Kevin Knox is going to play a bunch of minutes. And what do? They just hang around. In fact, they were winning after 31-29. They fell behind at halftime by 6. Fell behind heading the fourth quarter down 86-82. It was a ball game. Have not gone anywhere. Trailed by as many as 12 in the third quarter. Felt like maybe they're going to let go of the rope, and it's just like, hey, fun couple quarters, but it happens. We saw them do that against the Kings last week on Wednesday, where it's just like you might be able to play a couple quarters that are pretty competitive, but it's a talent league and you might not be able to hang around. But the Blazers cut that 12-point lead to 4 heading into the fourth quarter, and then take a lead when Nate Williams, your boy Jonathan, who goes by Nate, hits a 3 with 8 minutes left. But, up 1 with 8 minutes left. You're on the road. This is a must-win game for the T-Wolves, who are trying to stay out of 10th place, trying to get themselves, above the line. Maybe they have a chance to straight up, avoid the play-in and make the playoffs, unless they lose to a team like this. And what do? Anthony Edwards, who the Blazers really couldn't stop all game long. He's quiet in the fourth quarter, but couldn't really stop him all game long. Makes a layup. Blazers don't score. Gets fouled. Has a chance to put the Wolves up. The Wolves up 3, but he splits the free throws, so they're up 198. The Blazers find themselves, they battle back and take the lead, but find themselves trailing with 2 minutes left. This team, it's going to be a lot of Shaedon Sharpe screen actions, some Skyler Mays stuff, and it's like, where do they score in the final 2 minutes? And the answer is the teenager. Shaedon Sharpe takes over down the stretch. He has a layup to tie the game, and Skyler Mays pushes in transition off a rebound, a weird late clock shot from the Wolves. Mays pushes in transition. The Blazers take a 2-point lead that they would not give back. Then Shaedon pushes and gets fouled, puts them up by 4 after 2 free throws, and the Wolves still hang around. Anthony Edwards gets fouled, makes a layup, and 1. It's a 3-point lead, or it's a 3-point play, 1-point lead. Blazers need a bucket. Shaedon Sharpe gets a high screen from Drew Eubanks, comes around that screen. He knows that Rudy Gobert is going to be in drop, so instead of settling for a pull-up jump shot, he eats up that space, powers downhill, uses athleticism, scores, and probably got fouled. Blazers go up by 3. They didn't call the foul, to be clear. The Wolves cut it to 1 quickly on Anthony Edwards' dunk, and then inbound play goes weird, maybe off of Shaedon Sharpe. They challenge it. Wolves lose the challenge, stays with the Blazers. They get it into Drew Eubanks. He splits the free throws to put the Blazers up by 2. Wolves with one last chance, but out of timeouts because they challenged it. Whoops! Kyle Anderson throws a layup over the glass. Straight up airballs a layup by throwing it over the backboard. Truly incredible ending to this game. Kind of confusion over what the call was. Blazers throw the ball in bounds with under a second left, even though on the broadcast it said 0.0, which is the end of the game, but the horn hadn't sounded. Truly strange end of the game. Blazers inbound it, no foul, game over. Blazers win 107-105. That's your fastest recaps in the West. Portland entered the game 8-39. When they don't score 115 points. 8-39 when they don't score 115 points this season. Make it 9, baby. Put it in the books. Sweet number 9, led by 27.6 boards and 6 assists from Shaedon Sharpe, 3 consecutive games of 25 plus. Kevin Knox, monster game, 19 points off the bench. His Blazers career high, his high in a Blazers uniform. He kept them in that third quarter, especially. 15 from Trent Watford, who didn't really play down the stretch. Drew Eubanks, 12. Skyler Mays, 13 points, 9 assists. He was straight up really good in this game. Nate Williams, 7, including a big 3 in the fourth quarter. 5 from Jabari Walker, 5 from John Butler Jr., and 2 from Shaq Harrison. Also 2 from Matisse Thybulle, who was scoreless until a late fourth quarter baseline jumper, a big bucket late, 0 for 5, and takes a little 17-footer and cans it when he wasn't being guarded by Rudy Gobert. On the other side, 37 points from Anthony Edwards, 8 points on 3 field goal attempts for Karl-Anthony Towns, a truly bizarre game from him, 10 points, 15 boards from Rudy Gobert, who the Wolves just have no idea how to use, or at least in this game had no idea how to use, 13 from Kyle Anderson, 10 from Jaden McDaniels, 11 from Mike Conley. The Blazers played really, legitimately well in this game. I'll talk about this in the second segment a little bit. I think they played legitimately well in this game. No shade. I'm not going to be like... They played hard. You have to play hard when you're shorthanded. The Blazers played hard the whole time. They didn't get let go of the rope. Down double digits in the third quarter. Easy to just go full ostrich, put that head in the sand and go home. Blazers didn't go home. They didn't go anywhere. They said we're gonna mess around and stay in the game. Stayed in the game. Took the lead with 8 minutes left and responded in the final 2 minutes. And when they needed to score, amazingly enough, their best player, who happens to be a teenage rookie, goes and scores down the stretch when they need him. He kind of outduels Anthony Edwards to some extent, although I think that might be overstating it a little bit. But the Wolves played so stupid in this game. They were so stupid. They had 18 turnovers that led to the Blazers' 21 points. The reason the Blazers won this game is that they won the possession battle. They took 14 more field goals. And they ended up only taking 3 fewer free throws. You can knock out even if if you say, okay, Eubanks' are intentional foul free throws. They only took 5 fewer free throws, but so if you count those as shooting possessions, still the Blazers 9 more shooting possessions. That's how you win a game. It's just more opportunities, just straight up more opportunities. The Blazers didn't shoot the lights out, only made 9 threes. Wolves made 11. You win this game because of the field goal attempts is the difference in this game. The Blazers took 93 shots. The Wolves took 79. That's the difference. The Timberwolves were so stupid. Down the stretch, the Blazers were playing small, and they kept they were obsessed with the size advantage from Gobert, but they couldn't figure out how to use the size advantage. They got him in the post a couple times, but the Blazers were aggressive, fronting him and then making the catch hard. So it's like Rudy Gobert catching a post up at 18.5 feet. What is he going to do with that? And so then they were like, okay, we can't post him up. So they just ignored him. They bring Towns in there. Towns immediately gets a switch because the Blazers are switching 1 through 5, and he stands still at the 3-point line and doesn't crash the glass. The Wolves played dumber than you can possibly imagine. But guess what? The Blazers took advantage of it. And look, you might be saying, oh my gosh, Mike, why are they doing this? Why did they win? I hate them. When they're supposed to lose, they will still win. 2 things. 1, winning is still cool. Even though tanking is the plan. It was a good game that, a game in which Shaedon Sharpe is not a good game. The Wolves played like actively stupid basketball, but like it was an entertaining game. Really bizarre finish. A game where you are losing and you have to say, Shaedon Sharpe, can you win this for us? And he does. Great game. I'm never going to complain about that at this stretch of the season. It's not like, if Shaq Harrison had 27 or something, I'd be like, well, I don't know if this is like useful for the Blazers. Shaedon Sharpe executing against a team that wants to make the playoffs and beating them with his ability to get downhill and get into the paint and draw fouls. Great stuff. And 2, the Orlando Magic are beating the Pit. As I'm recording this, there's 2 minutes left in the game, and the Magic are up by 24. So the Blazers, right back where they belong with the 5th best lottery odds. So they didn't burn themselves with this victory. In fact, they just entertained you on a Sunday afternoon. You were probably watching the Women's National Championship like I was, but you watched it on record. You had it recorded, so you watched it afterwards. I didn't watch this game live. Sue me. Then you put it on. You had it on your DVR after you finished watching LSU and Iowa, and you were entertained. The 4th quarter was like entertaining. I thought Kevin Knox was fun. I'm not going to knock them for a win. I want to talk a little bit more about Shaedon Sharpe. I want to talk about the new guys and kind of the direction the Blazers are heading, which is like losses, but losses with a little bit of intrigue. But before we do that, let me tell you about PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made easy. I play PrizePicks to play it on the app, but you can also, if you're into it, you can play it on PrizePicks.com. How it works is you pick the sport, and then you pick a ballot or an entry between 2 and 6 players. PrizePicks sets the line, and you pick over or under that line. So for me, it's because I play basketball, things like points, rebounds, assists. PrizePicks sets the line. I pick over or under that line, and I win money from there. It's just me versus projections. No field, no sharks, no nothing. Just you versus the PrizePicks projections. Simple as that. Plus, right now, new users, if you put in the promo code LOCKEDON, you will get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. It's a 100% deposit match. So you put in $100, get $100. Put in $50, get in $50. Go take advantage today. Go to PrizePicks.com, download the app in the App Store, and make sure when you do, you use that promo code LOCKEDON. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about what happened over the weekend. New players. I think that's like the Blazers they're at the point in the season where, I kind of have banged on them a little bit for this, and I still feel the same way. Like, they're getting hardship exceptions for like exaggerating injuries, but like it's cool as heck that someone like Skyler Mays, a former 2nd round pick who's was going to be was hanging out in the G League doing stuff, gets a shot with an NBA team to end the season. Shaq Harrison's a little older. He's almost 30. He's 29 years old. Like, he's a vet, right? Like, this is what he's here for. He's just kind of like, hey, we're super short on ball handlers. Can we just have do you want to show up and help us get organized so we can get better reps at the end of the season? So our offense has some functionality, right? But someone like Mays, I don't know that has a Blazer future, but specifically against the Wolves, in the first half, he got to his floater whenever he wanted. He just got into that middle area and hit a bunch of little one-handed runners. I'm not going to act like I'm familiar with this game. Did I know that he was Trent Watford's collegiate teammate? I did when I read about it. I probably saw him play some minutes during his stint with the Hawks because I'm an NBA junkie, but I don't recall them. Like, I don't have a Skyler Mays memory. I think I know the name. This was totally fresh watching him on Friday and Sunday. I thought on Sunday specifically, he looked like a guy who could get an NBA team organized, like finished with 9 assists. And I think the box score is maybe like not a good way to judge these games, but just watching him play. Comes off pick and rolls and knows where to get into a shot. He's comfortable in that mid-range, and he can get you organized. So Shaedon Sharpe doesn't have to dribble across the timeline, but they can still run little pin downs to get Shaedon Sharpe going. And at the end of the game, it's like Mays can bring it across against pressure. You can run your first action to set something up on the wing for Sharpe, and then Sharpe can get a screen and go to work. Like, you're not sacrificing the pick and roll actions, the screen actions that I personally really want to see Sharpe work on and improve on, especially his decision making, when to pass, when to shoot, so he doesn't take as many stupid shots as he's kind of prone to do. And boy, did he look good down the stretch here. Having someone to not make it Shaedon dribble across the timeline and get into everything and like spend all of that energy, really valuable. Jonathan Williams, really disappointed that he goes by Nate. Can't act like I knew who he was playing in the G League as well. Folks that know think that he's like a borderline NBA guy. This is, 2 point guards and Williams is like a 6'5" wing. Someday, I swear, Joe Cronin will be allowed to sign someone taller than 6'9". I think just like, I've read the rules, and there is no rule that says a golden retriever can't play, and there is no rule that says the Blazers can't sign someone over 6'9". So I do think it's within the rule book. Like, I think they're allowed to. They're choosing not to, but I do think from my understanding of the NBA league rules, they are actually allowed to sign someone taller than 6'9" at some point in the future. We will see if they do. I was bummed that Jonathan Williams the third goes by Nate Williams. Bummed. Not like actually sad or whatever, but I read the tweets and read the press release from the Blazers that said they waived Ryan Arcidiacono, and I was like, tight. Jonathan is a sick name. The Blazers they don't announce in the press release and stuff where they don't announce the terms of contracts. Pretty much no team does. It's very, very rare. But it's a multi-year deal. Reported that it's a 2-year deal. Have not seen this reported anywhere. So if it has been, I apologize. But this is a fully non-guaranteed contract, right? Like, he's getting his money for this year, and you sign him to next year for a non-guaranteed deal. It means you can bring him into the summer, you can bring him into training camp, and you can figure out, hey, we like this guy, we want to take a flyer on him. You're doing good by his agents to say, like, hey, you're going to be involved with our program from now until at least whatever the season starts, October 31st. And then you'll see, it's like, you were out of the league last week, now you're in the league, and we're going to give you like real development time. I thought he looked pretty good. He not like this like standout NBA player, but physical. I thought he was physical and attentive on defense. Hit a meaningful 3-pointer. I don't think this was like, he played 13 and a half minutes. I don't think this was this thing where it's like, okay, he can really play, but he's super active on the glass. Like, got 4 offensive boards. Like, I thought he was, they're playing pretty much switch everything on defense. I thought the Blazers were really competitive on defense. A little stupid sometimes. One thing I've been paying close attention to is Shaedon Sharpe on defense, because I think that's the question for him. I know a lot of people want to see him be the starter next year, and I'm not sure I'm comfortable right now saying that a 20-year-old, he's gonna be 20 when the season starts, is like, you can bank on him playing 35 minutes a night on a team that wants to like win a playoff series. I think Shaedon Sharpe has improved a ton. I think I might straight up think very differently when the fall starts after watching him this summer and hearing what the buzz is. The buzz is going to be positive, but you know what I'm saying? Like, hearing the buzz and trying to apply some logic to it if he plays in summer league, which I assume he will, see how dominant he looks there, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Shaedon Sharpe should play 25 minutes next year. Like, I think he's really good. Even if I don't think he can start, if he does start, we'll see what happens. But like, one of the questions for me is, because he really, really, really has some offensive tools, but there were times this year was maybe the worst defensive player in the NBA. So I've been paying super, super close attention to what he looks like on defense. I thought against the Wolves, because they were switching everything and kind of walling up behind because they're really not worried about Gobert. So they were kind of zoning off Gobert and zoning off the weak side, particularly with Kyle Anderson, and was like, these dudes aren't going to shoot. We're not worried about them. So, and trying to keep particularly Ant Edwards out of the paint. He's almost scored 40, so not a great job. But like they were super attentive. I thought Sharpe is communicating. He's just like watching him point, watching him talk. Yell at Jabari Walker to pull over or to stay still because he's got his back on the shrinking the floor on the opposite side. I thought Sharpe was doing as good a job communicating on defense as we've seen him all year. I thought Sunday was a great communication night for afternoon, I should say, for Sharpe. And he was bad on defense a couple times, got just blown by Anthony Edwards, had a couple plays late in that game where he didn't get over to help. One time he just didn't turn around to get over to help. The other time he could have slid over a step and made it harder, and he chose not to. He's going to struggle there. But, you want to see him, I don't know if it's a process over results or some sort of homage to Sam Hinkie, but I think he was looking so good on offense that I'm willing to look back on defense and be like, okay, I know everyone wants him to start. Are we getting closer on defense to him being competent? When the ball's in front of him, yes. The team concept, and when someone's really fast in front of him, it still can be a little troublesome. But he understands, particularly with guys who aren't lightning quick, and Anthony Edwards hard to guard, period. He's improved on defense a bunch. And like Shaedon scored 8 of the final 11 points in this game over the final 4 minutes. How fun. How freaking fun. Like, you might want them to lose forever and get Victor Wembanyama, but like, I am not, and like, to be fair, like Locked On Blazers as our sort of business position on this is very pro Wembanyama. We know how it works. The Blazers winning the lottery and getting a generational talent is good for business. So I'm just like in general, a very, very, very pro Wemby here, but like, I'm not going to poo-poo a win. And I thought Sharpe was really good in this game and showing some, particularly down the stretch, really just when you need a bucket, you get him the ball, get into the free throw line, get into the rim, eating up space, scoring against one of the best defenders of the past 10 years. Just an awesome Sharpe game. Okay. New CBA, new collective bargaining agreement. Let's talk about that to close the show. That's what we'll do in the third segment. But before we get there, before we talk about that, let me tell you about Built Bar, best tasting protein bars that there are. I like peanut butter brownie. I like cookies and cream, but I also have been known to mess with the chocolate caramel. I like the double chocolate. I like the raspberry. I mess with the orange. I'm a big fan of the coconut. Very, very popular is the brownie chunk is in the Locked On world. That one is often we send each other messages. Hey, it's available again at built.com. Whatever it is, you're going to like them because they are covered in 100% chocolate, but they're not crazy sweets. They only got 4 grams of sugar, 130 calories, and 17 grams of protein on average. Give you a little bit of boost to your blood sugar without loading you up on things that are super unhealthy, plus fuel you can actually use, and just 4 net carbs. So go to built.com, check them out. That's Built Bar. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. Let's close the show talking about a labor agreement. Blazers are going to continue their road trip. They're probably going to continue losing that game against the Spurs, maybe their last win on the season. But what they are importantly are going to be doing is still playing basketball when we get to the fall. There was some concern, not a ton, with I only talked to one person in the league. Not to brag, but I used to do this full time. I know 6 or 8 people who still work in the NBA now. And the person I asked was like, I don't think there's going to be a lockout. But there was still, even if folks around the league weren't super concerned, we were entering the end of the labor agreement running out. And so there's always going to be a chance that because the labor agreement has run out, that there's a work stoppage. But instead, the players union and the ownership have come to a deal that is up to 7 seasons with mutual opt-out after 6. You got to assume it lasts 6 years and we do this again. Some stuff in here, I mostly don't like it. Like I'm pro playing the games. Like I don't want to see a lockout for a variety of reasons. But like I don't want to see a lockout, right? Like I'm happy that that's not going to happen. I think in general, it's easy for me. Like if you're a long time listener to the program, you know that I'm super pro labor in this stuff. Like it's a closed economic system. There's 30 teams. You got to be a super billionaire to buy one of the 30 teams. And if you're going to buy one of the teams, pony up the money, you cheap. Like just spend a bunch, right? And I think the league leans towards protecting the absolute richest people on earth who are owning something that is like, you know, mostly frivolous and increases in value every year. It's like, I am not in favor of protecting these folks. I'm in favor of them paying out the wazoo for the talent, which is why we watch the games. And I feel like in the CBA, the owners always win. They own the dang things. They're going to win. And I feel like this is no different. Among the things that were passed, and this is reporting from Adrian Wojnarowski and Shams Charania, and to be clear, both of them reported this in the most bizarre way that it was hard to follow, but I've read what they both wrote, and I guess I have a sense of what it is. The CBA hasn't been ratified. We'll learn more. But here's some things I like and don't like to steal directly from Zach Lowe. I'm not going to do 10, but things I like and don't like about the CBA. I don't like that there is a new tax apron, that if you're over $17.5 million over the tax line, that you lose out on some team building things. You lose out on the taxpayer mid-level exception. You lose out on trading a first-round pick that's 7 years down the line. You lose out on signing buyout guys. You lose out on taking on more money in trades, and that's the one I don't like. Who cares? Who cares? So, like, if these teams lose the taxpayer mid-level, that's guys like Joe Ingles in Milwaukee and Dante DiVincenzo in Golden State. Both of those dudes are going to be players on teams that could go deep into the playoffs. Joe Ingles might be on the court when the Bucks win the championship. He's been really good for what Blazers legend, that is, who you'll remember that I didn't think was even worth a minimum contract. I'm a winner, baby. I can see an argument where you say, hey, listen, if you're going to, we got to limit the biggest, most expensive teams and stop Steve Ballmer from overspending. But I don't care. I don't care. If Joe Lacob wants to spend all that money, go for it. Go for it. I don't care. Plus, the owners when you go over the tax line, you pay to the other teams. All those broke owners who want to cry about, cry poverty, like they can't spend we can't spend like the Warriors and the Clippers. Then shut up, because they're going to write you a check at the end of the year. Just chill. But what I hate taking on more money in trades. They would not be allowed to take on more money in trades. So you're deep into the season. You're spending all this money to help your team win a championship. That would be one title. Doesn't even necessitate a rack. Win a championship, and you can't trade for Norman Powell and Robert Covington. If this rule had been in place last year at the trade deadline, when the Blazers are looking for a trade partner, the Clippers, the sad sack, hapless Clippers, who've been always bad and have this owner who's going to spend out the wazoo to make them good, they wouldn't be able to make that trade because they were too far over the tax line. And I say to that, boo, boo. If Steve Ballmer wants to spend the money, shut up and let him write you a check. Why are we protecting broke owners? Boo. I hate it. It's not a competitive balance thing. It's a protecting broke folks. And these are broke billionaires. These are billionaires crying poverty. These are the richest people you've ever met. Yeah, I'm mad. Okay, another thing I don't like. 65-game minimum for the All-NBA and MVP awards. This is a thing to curb load management. And quite frankly, the NBA has an availability problem. The league is in a worse spot because the star players don't play. I've had fans write me who say, like, hey, I'm a big Blazer fan. I happen to live in Indianapolis. I get to see Damian Lillard once a year. So if he sits out, if that's the second night of a back-to-back, like Dame hasn't really done this except for the end of this season, which is problematic in my personal opinion, but whatever. I miss seeing him. Or if he twists an ankle or whatever it might be, or if Giannis comes to your town one time a year in Portland and you don't get to see him, it stinks. For years, LeBron James in the Eastern Conference, like if he came once, you better go see him because the Blazers weren't going to play him in the finals or whatever. So it was your one chance to see generational talent. The league has an availability problem. I would like it if the players played more often and that wasn't a natural thing, but I think it's mostly about the culture around only winning championships matters, like the sort of media culture perpetuated by folks like me yelling into microphones. Yeah, I'm mad. creating an idea that the regular season doesn't matter. So then you just optimize your chance to win championships by sitting out back-to-backs, by having scheduled rest, by having all these things. Sure. If the league were to really do it, they would squeeze their broadcast partners and saying, we're getting rid of back-to-backs altogether. We're stretching out the season by 10 extra days. The NBA finals are going to end on June 22nd now. NBA guys would be mad, but it's only 2 teams that play that deep. They deal with it. But the problem, so I'm with availability would be better, right? I'm very much in favor of players playing. But 65 games is an arbitrary number that will lessen the product. There are going to be years when someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo, someone like Kevin Durant, someone like Steph Curry, even someone like Damian Lillard would be good enough to make an All-NBA team, but have only played 63 games. But he has an ankle injury or a hamstring injury, just can't get back. Like, only going to play 63. Wish I could have twisted my ankle in November, got sick in early January and missed a couple games, and then have a hamstring injury in February, and I'm going to only end up playing 63. I'm going to end up missing 19 games. It stinks. In the past, that was up to voters to say, you cannot be first-team All-NBA and only play 63 games. You're a third-team All-NBA player. First-team All-Team NBA talent, third-team All-NBA player. That to me, that makes sense, right? The voters would punish you. Now, arbitrarily, you'll be knocked off the ballot. So the third-team All-NBA is going to be much less valuable because it's going to be dudes who are not in the top 15 players in the league but happen to play that 66th magical game. It's too arbitrary. I'm in favor of like minimum minutes or something, or minimum games, but there's been times Steph Curry and Kevin Durant have both made an All-NBA team under 64 games. Damian Lillard might make an All-NBA team playing 58 games this year. And you know what? The reason if Dame isn't on one of the 3 teams is because he only played 58 games for a team that wasn't very good. That's merit, baby. That's merit. Like, that's all that is. Dame could have probably played another 6, and if the incentives change, maybe he will, and maybe you think that's better. I think it stinks. There's also going to be an in-season tournament, maybe as soon as next season. I'll hold my thoughts on this. I think it could be cool because it's just going to be part of the regular season schedule. There's only going to be 1 extra game, so it might not matter. Like, I don't know that we need this, but I think it could be cool. I was kind of a little bit dicey on the play-in tournament. I think it has mostly, or play-in rounds, I think it's mostly been very positive for the league. So maybe the play-in tournament will be fine. I'll hold my judgment till we see it. Two things I do like to close the show. Licensing money is going to be part of the basketball-related income. The BRI is the split of the income that players who get 51% and owners who get 49% share. Now licensing, jerseys and whatnot will be included in the BRI. That's good. You shouldn't sell someone's jersey and them not get money for it. That seems, all my capitalists out there can agree. If it says your name on the back, you should get paid for it when they sell it. And the final thing I legitimately like, a third two-way slot. Instead of, there's now 2 two-way slots, so you can sign 2 guys they're not NBA deals. It's lower than the league minimum, but it's like $500,000. It's real money for a chance to get into the NBA. And it's, for some folks, it's allowed them a path to like become NBA players. Trendon Watford among them. It's like, gets a 2-way spot as an undrafted guy, plays his butt off and earns a multi-year deal on an NBA team, gets himself a chance. More people with that opportunity would be better. The Blazers probably would have had a real center on the roster if they'd had a real 2-way spot. Maybe it's against the rules. This is a new CBA. I'll have to look whether the Portland Trailblazers can sign someone taller than 6'9". I will look into it. We'll talk about that in the next show. In general, I think it's easy for me to say the owners won and lock them out, all them out. But like, lockouts are for NBA players with guaranteed contracts and millions of dollars in their bank accounts. Guys like Nate Williams, who just signed with the Blazers. Nate Williams doesn't want no lockout. Skyler Mays doesn't want no lockout. They want the machine to keep on moving because they want their window, which is very, very small. Their opportunities are very, very small, to stay open so they can try to make the league. So it is easy for me to say here, like, labor should always strike, but I can see a world in which Nate Williams III, Jonathan, looks at me and says, like, I have 4.5 months to make an NBA team, and if they lock out, my window closes and my dreams don't come true. So please ratify whatever it is and give me a shot. So in honor of Nate Williams, I will just say, I'll probably complain about this in the future. In fact, I might do a whole dang episode about it at some point because there's more stuff in the CBA that I didn't even mention. But Don't love it, but I'm happy that we're not going to have a lockout. Okay, that's going to do it for today's show. Come back for more the rest of this week. We got more shows coming. We do. Locked On Blazers. Make it your first listen. Appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.